Speaking of boring and stale over on the other side of the street, I wouldn't go into any detail on this show because it wasn't really worth it, except I'm gobsmacked at what was shown. And it's amazing that just the loss or absence of a couple of guys can do this. I'm not talking about all the people that are injured. I'm just talking about the people that were carrying this program and were doing the good stuff. The opening match, and this was Wednesday night, August 3rd, the opening match on AEW was Jay Lethal versus Pockets. The wrestling war is up for grabs, and the first thing that we see on this national cable television show is a fucking bland, unimpressive parking lot attendant walk into the ring, playing Jefferson Starship from 30 years ago. People say I'm behind the times.
Well, no, it's a little bit older than that.
Actually, no. Jane, you playing again? That's 40 years. Imagine that. How time flies. And here's Jay Lethal, one of the most underutilized talents on the roster, who can perform, who can talk, who's a quality human being, who's never going to get you any bad publicity, who doesn't try to fucking cut other people's nuts off. What?
That's one big issue with Jay Lethal, is the fact that he does have a lot of negative publicity around him. And that's what causes a lot of people to...
But not for anything actually legitimate, for the ravings of a bunch of fucking lunatic women.
Well, I don't know that. I just know that women made accusations about it. I never heard any end to it, but I mean, that's still out there. So whenever Jay Lethal...
I heard two women made accusations, and both of them could fucking have a staff of psychiatrists retiring on just their cases. So as far as I'm concerned, fuck anybody says anything bad about Jay Lethal. How's that? If you say anything bad about Jay Lethal, you're a racist. How's that? The point is, he doesn't have any bad habits. He doesn't have any substance abuse issues. He's not going to go out and fucking drive drunk and get in the newspapers. He's not going to go out and be busted for fucking drug possession. He's not going to go out and goddamn wrestle the Invisible Man or a 6-year-old child. He's a competent professional. He's experienced. And he's never, as a matter of fact, he was the model employee in Ring of Honor. If you wanted somebody to do an appearance at a children's hospital or a local television affiliate or a sponsor's location of business, the entire locker room ought to be embarrassed that this was done on television and pissed off that they're breaking their bodies for a guy that doesn't take his own business seriously.
Before you get to the match, if I could ask you a question.
I'm not going to get to the match. I didn't watch it. It was involved Pockets. I'm not going to, I'm talking about the insult to his locker room, the insult to his business, and the insult to his television program, that every week, just because he wants to dress up like this fucking clown for Halloween, that Tony Khan will subject us to looking at this fucking guy, to the detriment of everybody involved in his business, because he's a mascot. He's a favorite. What were you going to say?
And by the way, on that topic, it is interesting and I would guess somewhat coincidental, only coincidental, that when the guys left the show that made the show good and the show started going in a weird direction, sometimes directionless, sometimes just filled with random New Japan wrestlers, that's right when he came back onto the scene. And I know he hasn't started every show, but he started several, it feels like, recently. Like, the first thing you see is him and Chuck Taylor and fucking Trent.
Well, because the thing, they're trying to keep the Big Bang Theory viewers, and the Big Bang Theory has a lot of women viewers, and apparently they've decided through their research that women who don't like wrestling but watch the Big Bang Theory will stick around to watch someone make fun of the wrestling they don't like, so they'll laugh at it before they switch the channel to the show they actually want to watch. That is the theory for opening the show with Pockets. So, but you know, hey, here's the thing. I just need to open a steakhouse for vegetarians.
Did you see the post-match?
I'm getting to that. So Lethal won the match, of course. They're not that crazy, but he came out worse for it because it placed him as a comedy preliminary guy in people's minds.
I was surprised.
And then
I was surprised that Tony actually had Jay Lethal go over.
Well, I am too, but not with what happened next, because they've got to sacrifice Jay Lethal to somebody else. Because Lethal called out Wardlow. And as he called out Wardlow, he and Sanjay and old Zippy, the giant pinhead, start getting more heat on pockets. And here comes the Puddin' Gang. The Puddin' Gang to like they're going to make a save. And then Wardlow. And the heels bail out, and Sanjay agrees that next week, or at Battle of the Belts, rather, it'll be Jay Lethal versus Wardlow. And that's going to be a good match, but with this build-up, again, they worked so hard. They all worked so hard. Wardlow becomes a phenomenon. And now he's buddying up with the Puddin' Gang. They all worked so hard.
And I don't want to just dismiss the Giant because of the way he's been used. And I mean, Jay Lethal, I was supposed to say Jay used. Jay Lethal has been used poorly since he's been there. Sanjay, he's pretty good on the mic, but I don't think because of the way they've all been used, any of this really like matters in the general scheme of things. It was nice to see them at least set him up for a match with Wardlow. Maybe when's Battle of the Belts? Next week?
No, tonight.
Oh, is it? Fuck. I was going to say, at least it gives him a week to build up the match. It doesn't even do that.
No, they announced it for 4 days ahead of time.
They announced it for 4 days ahead of time, but I don't know. I mean, the Giant hasn't been awful. He hasn't been as bad as Omos in his limited interactions with different things.
No, but that's even worse. They just brought him out and started showing him. They've had him interacting with silliness and...
I was shocked that Jay Lethal won this match. Based on the way Tony uses Orange Cassidy, especially lately. I mean, it makes sense, obviously, you're building up to the Wardlow. We didn't know that yet, but the fact that he pinned Orange Cassidy, I was blown away. I said, wow, they really are going to use Jay Lethal.
When they get serious about their business, there won't be any Orange Cassidy on the television program if they ever get serious. And speaking of getting serious, here is the big angle. Remember, Uncle Dave reported, well, the third FTR and Bucks match may be on hold because they're planning a big angle. Here's the big angle. What did we say a month ago? I bet you that the Hardley boys, to get out of this thing with FTR, they're going to shoot some kind of deal to bring the rest of their trampoline friends back in and have a big 6-man jack-off fest where they all masturbate each other over all the cool little cartwheels they can do. So they did the angle to set that exact thing up.
Yeah, we said they're going to bring back Kenny for the 6-man thing and that they're going to do everything they can because of the reaction to FTR to turn themselves into as big a baby faces as they can. Give them credit. You found the crying kid. But this is exactly what we said was going to happen.
The kid was like, Daddy, can't we go home now?
This was exactly what we said was going to happen. This is exactly what we knew was going to happen. And hey, keep them all in one division playing with each other. I'm okay with that.
So Adam Cole and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly and the Hardley boys are all in the ring together. And Adam Cole is still injured. He still can't compete because none of these idiots know how to work. And even the ones who do know how to work are put in garbage matches where injury is inevitable. O'Reilly's injured. He's not cleared either. But Adam Cole gets pissed that the Hardley boys weren't loyal and they didn't pick old Bobby Fish to be their third man in this trios tournament. And so therefore, the two guys that are apparently not medically cleared enough to wrestle and Bobby Fish turn on and beat the shit out of the guys that are apparently just fucking healthy and fine as frog's hair. No story that anybody gives a shit about. It's the same old bitch fest between whiny douchebags. We were friends. We were friends. I thought we were friends. There's no fucking raw fucking of somebody or stealing of something or hurting their good, close personal friend or a family member. It's all, We used to be tight. Now you don't hang out with me anymore. We've been meaning to talk for a while. You fucking douchebags, you pussies, you limp dicks. No wonder nobody gives a shit about your shit, because it's all so silly and meaningless and paltry. And with Bobby Fish standing there with Cole and O'Reilly and both of the Hardley boys, it looked like 4 teenage juvenile delinquents and their parole officer. But at least when they beat up the Hardleys, they beat up Cutlet too. But now there's the Hardleys selling, now they're baby faces. So the rubber match with FTR, where they put FTR over, doesn't make any sense anymore. And while the heels are running roughshod, the guy that made the save was Adam Page. Hangman Adam Page. Hangnail Adam Page. With the phony lead pipe that they keep in the prop department. And he came out to the ring wearing a wife beater and his wife's blue jeans. Did you see those pants? They had embroidered butterflies. I think a cowboy, I'm thinking of Terry Funk riding the range at the Double Cross Ranch. I'm thinking of the flaming branding iron. I'm thinking of the bulldog headlock of Cowboy Bob Ellis. I'm thinking of people that ride horses and ride the range. Cowboy Bill Watts. And here comes Hangnail Adam Page in his wife's pants. So that was that angle. Everything we said was going to come to pass came to pass. It's almost like we can pay attention and see these things for ourselves. Go ahead.
Will Adam Page be disappointed when the Bucks team with Kenny?
Well, of course he will, because his feelings will be hurt, and he'll block them on Twitter.
Seriously, all this shit is junior varsity. This is the JV section of AEW.
If it was kids wrestling, if it was like that Mat Rats thing they tried to do on MTV or whatever, where they're appealing to 13-year-old children, these guys would be perfect. But it's not. Plumber Moxley was in the back, and he droned on in his usual fashion. I believe one of the quotes was, painting the canvas with his opponent's blood. That's what he likes to do. Did they do a brain scan on this guy at the rehab facility that he checked into to make sure that he didn't have other cognitive issues?
He's hysterical. Every promo now I just laugh about. No. But now I find these promos so funny because they're always like, I am going to kill your whole family. And then I'm going to do that. It's just every promo.
And when I bite into your carotid artery and chew the gristle that leads me to drink your blood.
Did I mention blood?
And at the same time, it's like, if I didn't have, well, actually, I have Spectrum cable. So I was going to say, if I didn't have good cable TV, but I don't have good cable TV, I have Spectrum cable, and everybody knows they're assholes, criminals, and incompetents. But I would think that my horizontal hold was going sideways as he blows in the breeze with the sideways thing, and the head's moving, and the shoulders are moving, and the whole body is swaying. It's like a bad reception of a picture from the Rabbit Ears back in the 70s. So Tony Schiavone was in the back with Christian Cage, who talked for 15 seconds. And the best heel promo that we've been seeing for the past few weeks, he gets 15 seconds. And suddenly Jungle Boy screeches into the picture, driving. Okay, you remember in the Attitude Era, right? Maybe you're having an interview with The Rock backstage in one of these big buildings, and then suddenly here comes a fucking limousine or some kind of jacked up monster truck or some kind of striking vehicle, screeching to a halt, and out jumps Steve Austin and they go to town or whatever. Well, in this case, Christian talks to Tony for 15 seconds, and here comes a vehicle screeching in. It's Jungle Boy in a mid-sized dollar rental car. And he jumps out, and security immediately is there. Apparently, security is there until the fight actually starts. And then they run off because they don't want anything to do with it. But since the fight didn't really start, the security were able to hold Jungle Boy back. I don't care. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter wrestled Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm, or Thunderstorm and Tony Rosa. Wait a minute, Tony Rosa, was that the partner of Donna Cristantello back in the 70s? Donna Cristantello and Tony Rosa were... So the heels won this match. What were your comments about it?
Did you watch any of this match?
Not a goddamn second.
I wish you would have, because these are actually 4 of the higher tier AEW women's wrestlers, so it's worth watching this.
I am not going to argue with you there, and I've been a fan of Toni Storm. She looks like a star, and Thunder Rosa's a good wrestler, but my God, what they've been putting her through lately. And I'm getting a little tired of the whole Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Reba thing, because there's been a lot of silliness. But your thoughts on it?
I'll tell you the most impressive. I liked the match. I thought it was actually a pretty good match. The most impressive person in this match, to me, Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter can bump. Everything she does looks good. I like Jamie Hayter a lot. You didn't see the match. I may have a way of filling you in on what happened.
Okay.
I had Jace, because I had a thought watching this match. I asked Jace to transcribe everything Tony Schiavone actually said on mic during the match.
Okay.
He's one of the commentators there, the TV commentator. They have a job to do something, and that's commentate on wrestling. You would think if a blind person was watching and maybe only listening to Tony Schiavone, would he be saying anything? And I've said it many times here on the show, Schiavone says nothing of any importance on any match ever.
Well, and remember, that's what Jim Ross, he said that was Leroy McGurk's test of an announcer, because Leroy was the boss, he was the promoter, but he was also blind. And if he could understand what was going on by listening to the announcer, that was a good announcer. So how does Tony pass muster on a standard like that?
Well, you tell me what you think is happening in the match. Here we go.
Okay.
Everything
now, these are not all the announcers. These are just the comments during the women's tag made by Tony Schiavone himself.
Just Tony Schiavone. And to be fair, he's the third announcer. It's a third seat. You probably don't need a third announcer, but if the person was there, and we've seen it with other people like Taz, usually they add something.
Yeah.
Everything I say from this point forward will be a Tony Schiavone quote in order. I agree with all that. I really do. What a rivalry. This is pure hatred right here. Be careful. Smart tag by Britt Baker. Jamie Hayter trying to find some refuge in the ropes there, and made a mistake. You turn your back on Thunder Rosa. She doesn't give a damn. Looking forward to being back in Chicago for almost an entire week. All 3 of them do. I mean, she's kind of by herself on this. She got 3 of the top contenders. Right at Britt. I was thinking the same thing, Taz. That's the rivalry we were talking about. She's one of the strongest hitters in all AEW, men or women. There's been a lot of hot ones in this match, buddy. There have been. Oh man, everything's so vicious as Britt. When Britt clenches that jaw, you could see it in her face, buddy. She's gonna lay it in. Steel cage match turned everything around. San Antonio, Texas. It wasn't home cooking, but it was a home court advantage. Rub off the face paint. You're right, Taz. Good call. She hit the head. Whoa! Yeah, another high cross body, too. Yeah, Jamie Hayter is amazing. The things she can do. The women's division is powerful and strong. Oh! She absorbed that ripcord blow. Thunder. Yeah, Baker knows what's going on. She's raking the eyes for a reason. This is a hell of a match. I'm with you, Excalibur. I had no idea where she came from. My God, all of a sudden, into your screen, into the frame. God, Jamie Hayter. Wow. It has. Listen to the fans, man. They're digging this match, and so are we. They were hooking hands, hooking arms that time. Okay, I hate to say this, but does anybody know who the legal ladies are in this one? And the final comment after the match ended, if you thought that the Doctor and Jamie Hayter weren't working well together, erase that from your mind right now, Excalibur. They came in looking together. Same colors. And there it is, the insight of Tony Schiavone into this women's tag match.
Did he ever get answers to any of those questions, I wonder? So, where do we go from here? Oh, well, You know what happened next, Brian, because this was such a success as a segment on the AEW program a while back, they decided to do it again. Another video of Sammy Guevara proposing to another girl. Remember the last time it didn't work out quite right? What was her name?
Last time it wasn't a video. Last time it was live in the arena.
Well, yeah, last time it was on TV, though. They did it. He dropped down on his knee and proposed to the girl. I can't remember her name. She was his longtime girlfriend. I can picture her there now wearing my Aunt Lola's couch cover from the 70s for a dress. And he proposed to her and then apparently promptly dumped her for Ty Conti and got such heat on the internet for it, for being a lousy person, that it switched him heel. Along with his slappable face and his nuclear heat getting current girlfriend, old Ty Conti. So now they had a cheesy video of them at a retreat somewhere with the champagne, and he's proposed and they're getting married. And then Eddie Kingston was in the back shitting on the video. You think they're going to have the wedding on television?
Yeah, because Jericho's involved, I do. Or at least a wedding on television.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty funny gimmick if you think about it, if he keeps this up, after him and Ty Conti end. If a wrestler constantly got engaged on TV to multiple
every week
women,
and come out and act like it has never happened before. This week, hi, Tony, I'd like you to meet my fiance, Deborah. And we're going to get married. As a matter of fact, I'm going to propose right now. And then Tony's like, well, you did this last week with Evelyn. What are you talking about?
Based on the voice you just did, I see Stan Lane doing the gimmick now.
Actually, Stan may have done that gimmick, just not on television. No, he never proposed to anybody. He proposed things, but he didn't propose marriage. The Starks and Hobbs incident VTR, where last week Starks, they did 17 angles in one segment and nobody understood it, and Taz didn't know why that Starks beat Hook, or Starks beat Danhausen, but then Hook challenged Starks, and Starks lost to Hooks.
No, Hook didn't challenge Starks. Starks challenged anyone after the match to come out.
Okay, but Sharks. We can't even explain this shit. We're watching it. Starks was the champion that had the FTW belt that wasn't a real recognized title, but they act like it is. But the whole heat of it is that it's not, and it was Taz's title, and Starks is in Team Taz along with Hobbs and Taz's son Hook. So Starks beat Danhausen, then challenged anybody else to come out, and then Hook accepted the challenge, in effect challenging Starks. Hook wins his dad's own belt from Starks, the member of Team Taz, but then Starks is not upset by it because he cuts a babyface promo and gets the people really into him. And suddenly, in the middle of that, Hobbs, for no apparent reason that has never yet been explained, just clotheslined the fuck out of his formerly broken neck from behind and beat the shit out of him. And Taz was saying, well, I don't know why any of this is happening. So now this week, they do the VTR of those incidents and then have Taz give the explanation, which is that he still doesn't know why any of that happened, and he wishes them all good luck, but since Team Taz can't get along, he's officially dissolving Team Taz on an on-camera of the announcers. This thing's been a deal since the start of AEW, Team Taz, and now they dissolve the whole thing amidst controversy in an announcer on camera. What the fuck?
Can we just pause for a second before you go forward?
I wish we could.
To remember Team Taz. Because they were, in the early days of AEW, one of the most misused groups from like day one. Taz was great on the mic. They misused him. Ricky Starks, they put him with Taz. They didn't do much with him. Brian Cage was there for a while. That didn't really work out for a number of reasons.
No, Hobbs, but they did it. They did improve the group by kicking him out of it.
That's right.
So that made it stronger.
Powerhouse Hobbs has a world of potential. We've really liked him and Ricky Starks together. Hook has a unique thing going on. You say he accepted the challenge. He did it in a nonverbal manner. He doesn't say anything. He just does things.
When you walk out there and start fighting a guy, that's kind of accepting.
And I want to congratulate the family. They got the FTW title belt back on the mantle, I guess, at home. But they've been misused from day one. And if I can't imagine it's going to happen, but I'll say it. If breaking up Team Taz and Taz being the commentator means that Starks and Hobbs will be used better, I'm okay with that. But I'm fearful of how they'll be used, but they should be used so much better.
Well, but now you've taken guys that are talented but have been basically non-entities, especially Hobbs, and instead of getting them over as a unit and then turning one on the other one, you've just split them up when they're meaningless now. So that means the split is meaningless. That's Wrestling 101. But unfortunately, nobody in this company cracks a book. But immediately after that recap and dissolving of Team Taz, Hobbs makes an entrance and has a single match on television. I can't say it's the only one I've ever seen, but can you remember Hobbs actually having a single match to beat a motherfucker in decisive fashion on this television program before? And if it has happened, has it been more than a year and a half?
I don't remember it happening on this television program. I don't know what happens in their other YouTube universe.
Okay, well, that's the thing. When he comes down, Hobbs's record in AEW is supposedly 50-21. Number one, that means you've beaten this fucking beast 21 times when he should have been a project from the start. And number two, that means he's wrestled 71 times and we've seen it like 4 times on television in multiple man matches. He's been there for all those years. And now they're going to attempt to push him. Familiarity breeds contempt and indifference in different cases. And this is bred indifference because he's there, but he's not. He looks great, but he never does anything. People talk about him. Every once in a while you see him hit a move, but most of the time, blah, blah, blah. So Hobbs comes out to fight Ren Jones, and this is exactly what it should have been. He swarmed him, power slammed him, clotheslined him, and beat him. That's what he should have been doing 3 years ago, and now he should be in main event matches. But instead, we got Tony's backward booking again. They put him in a few main events and on the periphery of shit when he didn't have any idea what he was fucking doing. Now he's got all kinds of experience. Blah, blah, blah. So then Ricky Starks hits the ring, and they have a hockey fight, and the people are up. And Starks shoves the referee and turns back to Hobbs, and Hobbs hits a spine buster on him and leaves him selling. This was actually the best 3 minutes of the show because it made sense and it got something across, and it was positive.
Would you have had Hobbs do a promo here to explain anything the week after?
Well, no, because we still have barely ever heard Hobbs talk either. And a big guy like that doesn't need to be doing a lot of the explaining. That's why they should have, again, I don't know what the thought process behind this whole thing is. But now you've got Hobbs floating out there on his own. Him and Starks together, you've got the little cocky, obnoxious heel Starks that can run his mouth a mile a minute. And you've got the big bastard standing next to him that's going to put the hammer down on you. And that's the way you get a heel team over. And then once you get them over, then you give Starks some type of redeeming human quality where he shows some measure of compassion or mercy or fucking empathy or some decent human trait in some respect that Hobbs takes exception to. And then Hobbs lowers the boom on him from behind and plants him when it means something. Then if Hobbs had somebody else in the group that could fulfill the Starks role, then that person would make the explanation that you think this monster here was going to sit back and let you turn into a pussy, Ricky Starks. He wants to tear the flesh off people's bones. He thought you were with him. Apparently you're too soft. So now I'm in charge of the monster powerhouse Hobbs. And then you have Hobbs kill people. And Starks has to come back and try to get even. It makes some sense. People are in the right place. You can follow it.
He left Starks laying this week.
Yes.
Does that happen again next week, or can it not happen again for a little while?
Well, no, it doesn't need to happen every week, or elsewise then Starks is impotent.
But we see the way Tony does things. He rushes all these things.
Well, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm saying, no, it doesn't need to happen because now Hobbs has the heat. Now Starks has to come out and not only finish trying to explain to the people, which he was interrupted before, of, what his viewpoint is, but he needs to be the one to say, and Hobbs, apparently we didn't see eye to eye because you wanted to, and then do the fucking horrible thing, whereas I wanted to do the right thing or whatever the fuck. You need to keep giving Hobbs wins. Starks has had more, and Starks is a more experienced performer, but not as physically dominating. So let Starks win some matches and let him do some promos, but let Hobbs just crush people. And then, after another few weeks where you've established the reason that all this happened, and you've established that both these guys in their own way are competent, then Hobbs needs to do something else to Starks. And maybe during that point in time, Starks can make the big bastard slip and fall on his ass and people laugh at him. He can't beat Hobbs up or beat Hobbs or pin Hobbs or make Hobbs submit or bust Hobbs open, but he can embarrass him because he's smart and he's quick and he's clever, and Hobbs is a, inexperienced musclehead. And then that would make Hobbs mad and want to do something really fucking heinous to Starks, and there's your angle, and then you book your match. It's not difficult.
It's nice to see something like that, too, where there's not a feud over a title. It's a feud over personal issues.
But it'd be nice if we could figure out what the personal issue was.
Yeah, we don't know what it is yet, but we assume there's a personal issue.
So Miro was talking to God again, and he's still mad at the House of Black. And then Darby Allin says that he's the one that told Tony Khan to hire Brody King, which that makes no sense in the world, because why would the babyface friend and protege of Sting want Tony Khan to give some big tattooed fuck a job to go into a heel group like the House of Black and fuck with people? It makes no fucking sense. It's really what happened. I'm sure he really did.
In terms of storyline, the lights went out, the lights came back on, Brody King was in the ring helping Malachi Black.
Right.
So we're supposed to believe Darby said, give my friend the job, and then sometime between then and when he got on the air, he hooked up with Malachi Black. Yes,
they're such marks that they think they're smart to the business. They're too smart for their own good. They can't even think about, they're not trained or taught from the start when they get in the business of how to talk about the business or how to reference things that go on, because they're all goddamn internet marks that are used to being in chat rooms with other marks that use these expressions or talk in this fashion. So apparently, what we are told to believe, and I know he's a mental case, Darby Allin's he's a charismatic little son of a gun, and for however long he's got left in the business before he's paralyzed, people are going to like him because he's got a lot of oomph and charisma and the shit that he does. And we've also mentioned he's a complete fucking idiot because he does all this dangerous stuff for a shoot, for free, just for thrills and fun, instead of money and pussy like everybody else. But he allegedly, in this interview with one of those tattoo guns, tattooed "The coffin will close" on Brody King on the palm of his hand. And I'm surely not, they had to work that. This fucking moron would not tattoo in his own bad-looking, unneat block printing, "The coffin will close on Brody King" on the palm of his hand for real for a fucking pre-taped promo. One would think.
I don't know.
Right?
You never know with this fucking guy. I don't know.
So these are the kind of fucking mental deficients that we're supposed to support as baby faces on this program now. JR made his entrance. Christian Cage wrestled Matt Hardy. Seriously. The youngest demo in wrestling, we are told, and they are running a rematch from a WWF angle from 2001. I like Christian Cage. He's done great work. As a heel, especially over the last few weeks, they botched the whole thing with him and the fucking Lizard and Jungle Boy's. What's the matter with the more I see of Jungle Boy, the more I've given up. At first, I was like, wow, I can really do something with that fucker. He's just so bland and has no personality. He can't talk. So Christian is in this thing, and suddenly he's wrestling Matt Hardy. And we've mentioned Matt. It looks like he's in pain when he tries to fart. He can't move. The first part was not good. They know what they're doing. They know what to do. And they did the best they could. And it wasn't, this match was neither stupid nor amateurish, but it's why? And actually going into the finish, they picked it up and they had the people. And this may have been, faint praise as it might be, may have been the best that Matt Hardy has looked in I don't know how long. And so at least they're having a match, right? And they're professionals and it's not stupid. And then suddenly Matt Hardy pulls a fucking table up to the side of the ring, puts Christian on it, gets on the apron, comes off with an elbow drop. Christian moves and Matt Hardy goes through the table. And then Christian rolls him in 1, 2, 3. So they had him into it. And they could have done some kind of finish to make Matt look somewhat competent, but Christian steal it with some little heel move or whatever. But instead, they bring in the table. The fans start cheering the table instead of the talent. And the fans were getting into this fucking thing at the end. They didn't have to ruin it. The fans were cheering the table, not the talent. Then the table spot got the big pop. And then Christian rolled Matt Hardy into the ring and beat him flat to a blah reaction. And then Christian gets the chairs for the concerto, but here comes Jungle Boy and Dino, and they ran him off. This went from bad to good, back to bad again.
Yeah,
your thoughts?
I didn't watch too closely.
Member of the Matt Hardy fan club.
I didn't watch too closely because it was Matt Hardy. And whatever you want to say, if you've been watching AEW weekly, regularly since the beginning or for the last 2 years, you couldn't want to see more Matt Hardy right now, and I certainly didn't. One thing, I saw a couple people tweet this at me, and I was like, that was interesting, the fact that more than one person had the same thought. So I'll just say it here. If you notice, Luchasaurus has not put his hands on Christian yet.
Very good point. Very good point. So then the question arises, has this all been a plot? And it's obvious that if it works, that Jungle Boy becomes the absolute stupidest babyface that's ever been. So I can believe that may be the direction they're looking in, because if there's a way that Tony can come up with a goddamn surprise swerve to make one of his baby faces look stupid or make one of his heels look better than the baby faces, that's what'll happen. So maybe that's where they're going. Daniel Garcia, where would the show be without him? He tried to do a promo with Tony Schiavone. He can't speak either.
You know what? Anna Jay, I don't know if we skipped it already or you talked about it, but Anna Jay did a promo on this show. Anna J-A-S.
Yes.
She does the same promo as Garcia. Like, not word for word or anything, but if you watch the way that they all of a sudden are moving and talking, they're doing like the same exact promo. It's kind of funny.
Well, they're probably all practicing it. No, she's after this next in-ring promo thing where she chokes out the production assistant.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's right. Yeah. So we're not there yet. Did you see the VTR package on Pac? And apparently they have been doing a deal not only in AEW, but around the world at various outlaw shows that Pac appears at, where little Pip Sabian is the guy sitting in the crowd with a cardboard box over his head and eye holes cut out. And this has been going on for months now.
Not just in Europe, apparently, because we've heard from a few people that have mentioned this. Apparently at AEW shows, it's never been referenced on TV. He was visible, I think, last week sitting ringside.
Yes.
But apparently he's been doing this for like a year and a half or something, where he attends all the shows, he sits there with that on, and somehow it's the most charisma and personality he's ever had.
Well, anytime you can cover up Pip Sabian's face, you're going to make him more appealing. But is somebody paying him to do that? Are they getting promoters that are so stupid they would pay a supposed wrestler to sit in the crowd with a cardboard box on his head for a long-term angle with fucking Pac?
That's what Tony's paying him to do.
And so since we've last seen that fucking little Pip with the video game fiasco, he's been sitting in audiences in various parts of the world with a cardboard box on his head harassing Pac. Now they're actually talking about it on television, and they expect people to give a shit that Pac has some skinny, scrawny fucking outlaw guy following him around in the crowd with a cardboard box over his head. Gotcha. The other Page was in the ring for a promo, and he starts talking, and here comes old Stokely Bivens down the aisleway. And the other Page, you know, the guy that you said there was something to, he's in there screaming, why is he not getting better treatment? He's screaming, he's doing a good impersonation of a guy doing a heel wrestler promo. It's not real with this guy. A lot of people say, oh, he does a great promo. No, he impersonates a great promo. It's not real with him. He's as phony as a fucking football bat. Phony as a get-well card from an Undertaker. But he's out there screaming, acting like an indie guy, and ignoring old Stokely. But then Stokely comes up to him, whispers to him, hands him a business card, and Stokely walks off and the other Page joins him. And somewhere, Dan Lambert is saying, they didn't tell me they were doing this. And Scorpio Sky is saying, what about me?
I'm okay with that.
But the guy's longtime tag partner, nowhere around. The guy's longtime American Top Team representative, nowhere around. The new manager comes in. He's building a stable. This fucking guy.
I'll say this. And, thinking back to the promo, I can't even really argue against what you're saying. I think his promo's all right, but what you're saying, and, as I'm replaying the promo in my head, it's not unrealistic. I understand why you're saying it. But a couple interesting things happened. He's out there doing a heel promo, and the fans started cheering him. And it felt like, okay, this is another one of those Ricky Starks things where the fans are going to, cheer the heel, and he stayed heel. He started yelling at them right away. He recognized that this is not going the way it's supposed to. Whatever they're doing with Stokely, this is the second guy, because it was Lee Moriarty. He gave a business card to. We assume, I don't know if it's his or if he represents a famous producer in Hollywood. Who knows? But this is now two guys, and we'll see where they're going with this. But
here's the problem.
Getting him away from Page and Lambert is, or from Sky and Lambert, is only a good thing.
I could agree with that, but here's the problem. You just said the first, okay, is this Stokely Hathaway?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I've called him ever Stokely Carmichael. He was Malcolm Bivens on NXT. If you want the fans to take Stokely Hathaway as a manager that will have any impact, that will be in any way meaningful or a draw or an attraction or whatever, first guy he gives the card to is not Lee Moriarty. And a second one is not the other Page. If you're when you bring managers in and do not give them main event talent, they become underneath managers. When you have an underneath manager, you just got another fucking mouth to feed for no fucking return. There should not be underneath managers. They should not exist. Because all that does is just take away from if you ever were able to find a fucking top manager and draw money with him. If you've got somebody managing the guy in the second match, it takes shine off your manager. So, Again, something else that they can't fucking grasp. Go ahead.
I want to give this guy a chance to see where they're going because Stokely Hathaway has shown us can't base anything on what he did in NXT because of that system and what they do to people.
No, he can talk. I'm not saying it's bad.
He can talk, and maybe I'm wrong, but I noticed something here. And again, he didn't have much to do, but it was the most serious I've ever seen him. And I think that's the one thing with him. And people are going to go, oh my God, you're talking to Jim Cornette. I used to watch him on TBS. But I don't think Stokely Hathaway should be cute until people want to kill him.
Right.
He needs to like get serious and make people want to kill him. And then he can go out there and cut some jokes.
Again, it's not always the talent's shortcomings. It's the shortcomings of the way that the talent is used. And you can't have a fucking manager of Lee Moriarty and have the same manager be in any way attractive to any main event star. Why would we need this guy? So anyway, moving along quickly. Tony Schiavone, again, he does all the interviews, and you would think that somebody would see him on the side of the ring with an oxygen tank running back and forth from the interview set to the desk. But anyway, this is where it was Daddy Mac Daddy and Cool Hand Luke and Anna J.A.S., and they let Anna J talk again, and it's fucking rotten. And now they're trying to act like she's some kind of nutcase that snaps and chokes people out like she's a shooter. And she runs off camera and chokes out, quote unquote, a production assistant on the side. And the camera keeps shooting it, even though one of the cameraman's own is in need. It was cable access level. It's just so fucking hokey. This is why nobody watches this shit anymore.
Oh, Anna Jay.
It's just stupid.
Anna Jay's great. Next time you watch her, she can't stop making faces. When she's not talking, she's either pouting or making a duck. She's nonstop making faces the whole
face
time.
Auditions. Yeah. So then they had a dumpster match. And a lot of people may remember that during the infamous Attitude Era, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, the New Age Outlaws, did an angle on Raw where they put Mick Foley, I can't remember what his persona was. Was he Cactus then? I think he was Cactus Jack then.
Yeah, I think so.
And Terry Funk.
Chainsaw Charlie then.
Chainsaw Charlie in a dumpster and pushed him off the fucking stage. And there was quite a bit of consternation, especially afterwards when Terry and Mick realized what kind of bump that was going to be. It wasn't a fun fucking deal. But now, because the Gun Boys, the Ass Boys, the Gun Club, are in AEW, and Austin and Colton Gunn have a problem with the Acclaimed Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, that they're going to have a dumpster match. It's like a casket match, but you have to put your opponent in a dumpster and close the lid.
We haven't seen a regular match between the two teams.
No. They were friends, then they turned on each other, and now the match is a dumpster match. Because there's a mark in charge. Actually, that's insult. Wrestling fans are not marks. Marks are really stupid wrestling fans. It's actually an insult to marks to put them on the same plane with Tony Khan's booking, but there you are. So the Acclaimed come out to the ramp with the garbage can and just jump the Guns and start beating them up and beat them up with garbage cans. They're all fighting on the ramp. And again, this had to be Tony Khan's formatting because nobody else would have done anything like this. The heels come out to get some heat. The baby faces run out and beat him up with a garbage can. Then the baby face asks for his music, and he does the full rap entrance while the Gun Boys, including Billy, have to lay there and sell. And then as soon as Caster's finished with the rap, the heels get back up and attack him again, which makes the baby faces stupid for stopping in the middle of a fight to fucking sing. This was a Tony Khan from start to finish, and this was one of my favorite Max Caster raps. He talked about Vince's fucking retirement. I think, is this the one he had January 6th in? I can't remember what else, but if this hadn't been a garbage dumpster match, no pun intended, as that redundancy repeated redundantly, I would have backed it up and transcribed the rap and done the rap because I've had fun with that. But I needed to get this dumpster match off my fucking screen as quickly as possible. Because as soon as anything goes, by the way, lazy booking. They start the fight, then they do the rap, then they start fighting again on the ramp before the bell. They beat up the heels. The heels have to lay there and sell while the baby faces rap. Then the heels start fighting again on the floor with a half dozen garbage cans while they're trying to throw each other into a dumpster. Half of this was fought in the entranceway and on tables. And I love the Guns, and Caster's rap was great, but this was not only a fucking mess, but they're going to get these kids hurt with this stupidity.
When effing turned over at the end, I was worried for a second there.
Is anybody going to remember this in 2 weeks? And here's the thing, they put obviously the heels in the dumpster, and you could see the packing peanuts that are lighter than air that do get, thrown up when somebody jumps in the dumpster, which happened in 1997. It did the same thing. But when they threw these guys in the dumpster and then they shoved it off the edge of the ramp, it landed and turned over, and all you saw spill out of it was packing peanuts. You never saw any of the humans in the dumpster after it went off the cliff. And I'm just wondering if they were smart enough to figure out a trap door and get them out of there, or whether they just held on for dear life and weren't thrown out of the thing. But again, Terry Funk and Cactus Jack didn't like the bump in 1997. And to get those two guys to complain about a bump and say, well, we probably shouldn't have done that. What the fuck? So this fiasco was over with. And the last match, I'll go ahead. Do you have anything else to say about it?
No, I wish the two teams were used better. I like both teams. And Max Caster, I just read there was some article about Max Caster. As I said before, because of his talent, he can get a lot of attention. He should be used well. And him and Bowen should be used well. They're good together.
Or they can throw him in a dumpster. And the last match. Now, let me get this straight for everybody. CM Punk is the AEW champion, but John Plumber Moxley is the interim champion, and Chris Midlife Crisis Jericho has earned himself a title shot at Moxley's title, and if he wins that, then he'd be in line to reunite with CM Punk, but he's going to put that title shot on the line here tonight against Wheeler Useless. And again, the main event of this program is Jericho versus Yuta. And Yuta's got Claudio in his corner. That's like, okay, I'll put The Undertaker against Taka Michinoku with his second Stone Cold Steve Austin. See, I was able to get Taka in there again. So I should start using Barry Horowitz. He was more popular anyway. As a guy, was a great guy and never won a fucking match. So basically, this was the last 15 minutes of the program. Daddy Mac and Cool Hand Luke were with Jericho, and Claudio was with old Wheeler. And Jericho finally beats Wheeler with the walls of Jericho and then keeps it on. Because I guess Claudio, I just skipped through this because why? Claudio was disappeared somewhere, so Jericho's got the walls on Yuta, and here comes the plumber. Moxley hits the ring, Jericho bails, gets the microphone, and Jericho tells Moxley next week he's going to stretch the shit out of him. Chris Jericho could not stretch a rubber band. I'm not talking about strength-wise, I'm talking about wrestling ability. Chris may have done a lot of things in his life and career, and even as a professional, but as far as being able to amateur wrestle and stretch anybody, Chris couldn't stretch a rubber band. And I don't know if I put any major amounts of money on Moxley as being able to whip anybody in a shoot either. But they're gonna face each other next week. That was this entire program. Thank God I'm done with that. Your final closing thoughts.
They've got way too much talent. They're focusing on a lot of the wrong talent. A lot of the right talent gets misused. You get excited whenever anyone you like is actually used on TV, and then you just got to hope they don't rush through something or just waste everyone's time. I can't wait for CM Punk to come back. I can't wait for FTR to return to the television show. Danielson, I'm starting to think Danielson may like the things that Danielson's doing, so that creates a problem.
Yeah.
But the last couple of months, it's been rough watching this show. I mean, it's like the period of time where if I didn't have to watch the show for the show, I probably would like take a summer vacation from it because I'm just not enjoying it right now. It's not well formatted. It's just there's so much crap on the show. And a lot of the guys you don't want them to focus on so much, they're focusing on nonstop right now. I'm serious. If we didn't have to watch it to review it here, I would probably take a break until like Punk came back or something because I'm just not feeling this show at all right now.
Well, everybody knows my thoughts, but I thought when you said at the start they've got too much talent, I thought you were going to say they got too much time on their hands.
Well, they have too much talent.
To be honest, they don't have they have too many guys signed. They don't have enough talent. But that's a common complaint and malady in the world of wrestling these days because there's not enough talent to go around because most of them are mental incompetents who think this is a dance competition.